This video is sponsored by 2K Games. When Civilization VII was first announced, one of the new mechanics that was revealed was legacy paths. The system worked hand in hand with the ages system and gave the player something to work towards during the age that they were in. After the reveal, one big question emerged. Was it actually possible to achieve all 4 legacy paths in a single game, or was it just a pipe dream? Lead content designer Carl was asked if he'd managed to do it yet, and he revealed that he'd only managed to achieve 2 of the legacy paths in the same game. In today's video, we'll look at whether you can actually achieve all 4 legacy paths in one playthrough, and what type of strategy might work best. My name is Drongo, this is Civ 7, join me as we take one more turn. Before we get into the game and explore if you actually can achieve all 4 legacy paths in a single playthrough, a huge shout out to 2K Games for providing me with early access to Civilization 7 so I can bring you this content today. So if you're not familiar with the legacy path system, here's a quick overview. In each age, antiquity, exploration, and modern, you'll have access to 4 different legacy paths. Each path represents a key focus: culture, military, science, economy. For this video, we'll be focusing exclusively on the Age of Antiquity, which provides you with some simple goals: construct wonders, build settlements, collect codices, and collect resources. It depends on what kind of setup you want to run when you're doing this, but for today's attempt, I'm going to be using my boy Big Ben, who happens to be Roman. This is also my first game of Civ 7, so I don't have any mementos equipped for this game. Ben is arguably the best leader in the game, and we'll be using his science, his production, and his endeavor bonus to full effect early on in this game. Together with his Roman roots, we'll have our culture covered, so the game plan from here is simple. We're going to start off strong, looking to secure some early expands. If we can get involved in some early war, we can look to get even closer to completing our goal of having 12 settlement points. As we expand, that's going to push our resource count up even higher, and that will naturally help out our economic path, though we might need to go chasing down those last few resources. Once we've got those both on track, then we'll be able to focus on the easier of the legacy paths, which are the world wonders and the codices. So let's jump in. We start with an absolutely stunning spawn. With 5 different resources and lots of vegetation, we'll be able to make great use of an early saw pit to maximize those yields. After analyzing our start, we settle 1 tile southeast of our spawn to get us nice and close to the kaolin resource. This is a great starting resource as it provides us an extra 2 food on top of the yields of the tile. It'll be instrumental in growing a large capital for us this game. We start by training our first scout and sending him south. We get an early narrative choice, which gives us the option for an early warrior, and considering how early we are here, it's an easy decision. Our second scout heads north up the coast, and we begin work on our first construction project, a granary. But hold on, why are we even doing this? Obviously it's a flex, but what do we gain out of maximizing all 4 of our legacy paths? Well, there's 2 primary things that are gained out of min-maxing our playthroughs to achieve what I will now call path maxing. Number 1 is that when you path max, you're completing legacy paths and they grant you legacy points, so that when you do eventually go over to the exploration era, you're going to have access to a whole bunch of bonuses, and if your opponents haven't got those points, they're not going to have access to those bonuses, so it gives you a massive head start. That's the first point. The second point is because of the Legends system. The Legends system has challenges that you can complete, and each time you complete those challenges, you'll be rewarded experience points. This XP contributes to leveling up, unlocking cosmetics and gameplay bonuses, and completing challenges efficiently means that you'll be able to level up sooner, which gives you access to better mementos. Okay, I know this video is about path maxing, but let's just quickly talk about mementos because they are huge and I just want to quickly show you guys. So once you reach Foundation level 2, you're going to gain access to a memento slot, which allows you to equip a memento for the duration of the age that you're playing through. You start off with basic ones like +1 military attribute point at the start of the game, but as you level up leaders you're playing, you'll unlock new mementos that you can use. For instance, at level 2, Confucius, he gets this insane memento that gives city growth an extra 5% for every specialist that you have, up to 25%. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that with mementos, they are very powerful, but the problem is they are gated behind experience, and experience is gated behind challenges. So the more efficiently that you can play, the sooner that you can unlock these powerful mementos. It's one of those little things, but it just kind of keeps you coming back. Anyway, that's one of the big reasons why I think it's important to try and path max. So let's move on to the rest of the video. So we jump ahead now to where we've unlocked our very first civic, Chiefdom. We gain access to a couple different policies and put toolmaking in for the extra production science that we get on the palace. We go ahead and choose our government, going with oligarchy because it's just a safe government that you're always going to find value in with that extra food. We continue to scout towards the east, and eventually we run across what is rightfully ours, the Grand Canyon. Unfortunately, however, it seems that there's somebody who spawned quite close to it, and that man is Xerxes. We start off by giving him a friendly greeting and do a little bit of research collaboration. This is quite significant early on. It represents a massive component of our science. We've got a base of 14 science, and that's going to push up to 20 now. Speaking of science, our next technology is up on the menu, and it's going to be irrigation. It'll give us access to an extra settlement limit, as well as a garden. On turn 19, we've moved down the civic tree and unlocked discipline. And while we don't put any of the cards in our government, it does now give us access to a unique commander, the Legatus. On turn 23, irrigation is finished, and we've started working on a garden, but we decide it's probably smarter to invest in some settlers instead. After a couple of turns, it's already here, and you know exactly where those settlers are heading. It's straight out east to forward settle Xerxes. Shortly after, we come across our third leader for today, and that's Tecumseh. After meeting him, we immediately enter a celebration, and now that we've forward settled the Grand Canyon, things are starting to heat up. But before we talk more about the fire, let's talk about this new natural wonder that we've found in the north. Holy moly. I don't know how to pronounce this thing, but I can tell you right now, it doesn't matter. You don't need to know how to pronunciate that to know that those yields are absolutely mind-blowing. Turn 36 rolls around, and it's time for us to look for our next settlement. Now, while we could opt to settle east of our existing cities, it's quite far away, and probably difficult to defend considering we've already upset Xerxes. So we'll just settle something a little bit closer to home. By turn 42, it's clear that Xerxes does not like the cut of our jib, so we decide to practice. Considering it's the first game of Civ 7 that we're playing, we need to work out exactly how these commanders work. And just 4 turns later, to nobody's surprise, Xerxes declares war. Fortunately for us, we already know how our commanders work. Now, despite the chaos that is currently going on behind the scenes, on turn 49, we somehow manage to get down a 4th city in the south of the map. Meanwhile, back over on the eastern front, our commander is leveling up after our archers do a little bit of shuffling. We manage to take out an enemy slinger, and that allows us to level up. On turn 63, we then come across the next character in our story, a man by the name of Ashoka, the World Conqueror. Don't forget about him, he's important. Heading back down south to our city that we settled during the war, we managed to get some gypsum online. By allocating the gypsum to our capital, we managed to trigger the threshold for the first milestone of our economic legacy path. On turn 69, we managed to achieve 7 resources in our settlements. Nice. We also had 1 codex towards our science legacy path, 4 settlement points towards our military legacy path, and 0 world wonders. However, that was about to change, with the completion of arguably the most beautiful wonder in the game, the Hanging Gardens. We took this opportunity to check the rankings for the legacy paths and managed to spot out that we were way ahead of everybody else. Now, it's important to note that the AI in this game was not at the deity level like it should normally be when you're sweating this hard playing Civilization, but it was rather at the Viceroy difficulty, which is the 3rd out of 6 difficulties. Let the record show, this was my first game, and I didn't want to dive into the deep end without my floaties on. By turn 80, we had begun to lay siege to Xerxes' forward city of Tushpa. By turn 82, we had conquered it and reached our next milestone, which was the first step of the military legacy path. Turn 88 rolled around, and like the great musician DJ Khaled once said, another one. This time, it was the Great Steli. By turn 90, the war front really started to heat up. We've got our 3rd level on our commander, and we've surrounded Xerxes' capital city from the north and from the west. Turn 94 rolls around, and Xerxes' capital is completely surrounded with our archers and legions, as we're easily able to dismantle his defenses. On top of that, we managed to pick up an extra city from him in the peace deal. On turn 99, with what might be the most breathtaking place for a wonder, Nalada is completed. This takes us up to 4 wonders now, because the capital that we took from Xerxes also had Petra inside. At turn 100, we hit a new milestone. This time, it's for our economic legacy path. We focused early on securing land, and together with that came a lot of resources. This puts us in a wonderful position heading into the final turns. Now, while it might look like we still have quite a lot of this game to go, considering we're only at 69% of the playthrough, This number will very quickly close the gap on 100% because of the way that milestones work. Every time you complete a milestone, you're adding additional percentage points onto that counter, and as more and more legacy paths get closer to completion, the counter begins to rise very quickly towards the end. On turn 113, we managed to complete the Oracle, which is another beautifully crafted wonder by the Firaxis team. On turn 114, we're given the option to choose between a Codex and 200 additional science. Considering our position here, this one's a no-brainer, and we add it to the collection. As we make it towards the end of the Antiquity Age, research becomes a lot more focused on the mastery component of the tech tree rather than the core technologies, simply because they offer up codices. On turn 118, the Colosseum is complete. Its first performance, you might be wondering? It's DJ Khaled. On turn 121, we put down our last settlement and complete the military legacy path. I don't know exactly how, but this also managed to trigger unlocking the Inca, despite the lack of obvious mountains in our new settlement, but hey, we take those. Just 2 turns later, we managed to complete the Pyramid of the Sun, leaving us exceptionally close to pulling off the cultural legacy path. On turn 130, with just 10% left of the Antiquity Age remaining, we managed to move a migrant to the town of Katana. We sit at 19 out of 20 allocated resources, and with this salt, which we now put into our capital, our economic milestones are complete. This now gives us only 5% left in the Antiquity Age to somehow construct one final world wonder and collect all the codices required for our scientific legacy path. As we get closer to the end of the game, it becomes obvious that we need to sync up both of the legacy paths at the same time on the same turn to avoid rolling over into the Exploration Age. However, unfortunately, on turn 133, we check the Great Works to see if we have enough space for our final codice. Fortunately, we do. And we also appear to have 2 codices that aren't actually being used. And instead of counting them, we just immediately move them over, failing to realize this would indeed trigger a scientific milestone being completed and subsequently the end of an age with 1 turn remaining on our final world wonder. So we fall back on what all sweaty Civ gamers have been guilty of at least once in their life, and that is the reload. We head back into the game, and instead of deciding to put our codices into the slots, we keep them handy, ready for the next turn, and then on turn 134, we complete the Among Us Maui. From here, it's as simple as putting in the last 2 codices into the slots, and voila. On turn 134, we've managed to complete the Antiquity Age with all 4 legacy paths completed. We managed to secure the maximum legacy points available to us through the legacy path system. We get a huge amount of experience towards both our Foundation as well as our Benjamin Franklin Legend, and after picking up the Ming for the Exploration Age, we start with the strongest possible start in the Age of Exploration. Overall, this was incredibly fun as a competitive gamer trying to complete all 4 of the legacy paths in one playthrough. I think what is so great about this system is that it gives you internal levers in the game to make it harder for yourself, depending on the rules that you want to play by. It's not just going to be about beating the Deity AI anymore, it's going to be about beating the Deity AI with all 4 legacy paths. I found this first playthrough of Civ 7 to be incredibly challenging, but also very rewarding. Once again, a huge shout out to 2K for providing me with early access to Civilization 7 to be able to bring you this content. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to leave a like. If you've got any feedback, positive or negative, then please leave a comment. And if you're looking forward to more Civilization 7 content, then hit that subscribe button, because remember, there's always time for one more turn.